Highline is more than schools. It's people. Students, educators, leaders, families, and neighbors, each with a story to tell. These are our people, and these are our stories. Welcome to the Promise podcast, where we share how the Highline Promise comes to life. Every student is known by name, strength, and need, and graduates prepare for the future they choose. I'm your host, Superintendent Ivan Duran. Greetings, everyone. Today's guest is Jeb Binns. Welcome to the Promise podcast, Jeb.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
All right, we've got a few questions we're going to run through with here, but I just want you to start off by just introducing yourself, your name, we already heard, your role, and how you're connected to Highline.
Oh, geez. I am the president of the Highline Education Association, so representing a little over 1,500 educators in the district. I spent the first 21 years of my career as a high school history teacher at Highline High School. Go Pirates! I'm connected to the district. I've got a daughter who graduated from Mount Rainier and later University of Colorado Boulder, and Charlotte, my youngest, is senior at Highline.
Right, and knowing we were doing our strategic plan rollout, we had the opportunity to go visit, our schools and share the work that we're trying to do. You also shared a lot of your personal background. Can you just talk a little bit around how you actually got into education? You have a unique entryway into your role as an educator.
Yeah, so I graduated from college, history major, and my fiance, Vicki, and I moved out to Minnesota, and I started framing houses. So I built houses in the summer and had kind of this funny experience of being called college boy.
Mm.
And so that was kind of a really interesting experience of thing, like normally people are like, oh, let's value education, but in the home building trade, that didn't seem to matter. And so it was go staple off the roof, college boy. And I was like, oh gosh, I think I'm going to fall down. Later on, I switched into management or a barista role at Starbucks, and then eventually to management. And then eventually switched over to CompUSA, where I was an operations manager. And I think I realized that the thing that I liked the most was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked people how to do inventory and how to run registers and how to do. And eventually I had a great conversation with my dad, who said, you know what, you'd be a good teacher. Why don't you go to grad school? I said, oh, okay. So there you go.
Okay, yeah, I remember that's a good story. You had a lot of connections and background, different work. I think when you do those type of jobs where you're doing construction, hard labor, it really helps you think about what you're doing today, and grateful for the education you do have. You don't have to do that every day. It's really challenging on your body as a whole.
Yep, and I certainly didn't want to be outside doing construction work in Minnesota winters. That did not sound like a good plan.
Right. Well, here in Highland, our promise is to know every student by name, strength, and need so they graduate prepared for the future they choose. So how do you see the Highline Promise come to life in your daily work experience, especially now in your role as the president of the Education Association?
I think it was that design goes into the fabric of how we work. In the classroom, it was easy. Look around my students, try to figure out all the things that they needed and how I could serve them. And now it's this idea of like, how can we do the work of supporting educators to allow them to be able to and so that's how we view everything from our labor management meetings to our building rep meetings to the other we have. So it's really trying to figure out what can we do, give, and provide our educators they can go about the daily.
Great. And you also mentioned you had one daughter who's already graduated. You have a daughter that's a senior right now, if I'm correct, at Highline High School.
Yeah.
So how is that? How do you see the promise through their eyes? And you think about, how we've done know them by strength.
Well, both my kids have been extremely successful, and I give them credit for that. They're driven and they want to succeed, and they've also run into really awesome time. Both of them started at Gregory Heights. Both went to Western. Both had wonderful experience with teachers there, and in high school they found their niche. My eldest did Running Start for a year, and said, you know what, I actually want to be in high school. And so she came back and finished up her time at Mount Rainier. Charlotte's had a great experience in Highline. I was super fortunate to be able to be her freshman teacher, so that was kind of fun and exciting. I did give her the choice. She said, yeah, you can be my teacher. I said, okay, that's cool. And she's just had a wonderful opportunity. The college and the classroom courses that Highline is offering prepare her well, and also this idea that she was able to college credit without a
Mm.
and so she didn't want to lose out on any of the high school aspect of it. So she's still got a leadership thing while still earning college credit, and that's stunning. So she's looking forward to having some credits when she goes in. So next year in college, wherever that might be, that's the question of the
I'm
hour at the
sure you're
Binns
trying to
household.
narrow that list down.
Right, we are. Right now, it's long.
Yeah.
So yeah, but she's just had a great time, great experience.
Great. Okay, well, who's inspired or supported you along your journey here?
I think it's tough because the second you start naming names, you've forgotten the hundreds of others, right, who did that. I gotta go back and thank Pat Dunn, one of the original principals, or my original principal at Highline High School, who hired me, and so that's going to be somebody who definitely took a shot, chance on me, and I really appreciated her. I've had wonderful colleagues throughout my building who are very in terms of improving craft educator,
Mm.
and principals who've given you a chances to leadership. And then, all the way through my union experience, there's been so many from past ATA presidents, my current executive board, to our rep council, all the people who were there sort of cheering you on and something. Also, their WA fans, and NEA, right? So I mean, it's been the list is huge. I'll give Pat the only like full on call out because she hired me, so we got to give him a chance. But I think there's a lot of great all across.
And I'm sure you're probably inspiring many people these days. They were doing other interviews with people, your name will probably come out.
You never know.
Yeah.
Not necessary, but
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit. You briefly mentioned your dad as someone who encouraged you to think about education, but I'd love to hear more about your dad because in many ways he's a historical figure here in Highline Public Schools. He was an educational lawyer way back when, and we found an old document from 1975 where his law firm was referenced. He's actually one of the attorneys that did some of the research because Highline was originally received the land from the Wood family back in the late 1800s. 1975, we were seeking legal opinion on, if we decide to sell the property, Sunnydale, which is just over here next to Highland School, what would happen in that situation. So we sought some legal opinion. Your dad was on that document, gave us some really good ideas way back in 1975. But how has your dad influenced your leadership today? And when you think about your dad, what's been the impact on your life, his experience?
I appreciate it. So my dad was a labor attorney, first with Perkins Coie, and was when he was in representation for Highline, and then he was Vandenberg, Johnson, and Bandera. And the funny thing is so my dad was a labor attorney, but on my opinion, representing the other side. So he only represents school districts. And it's been very interesting, sort of the conversations that we would have from being the management side of the house to the labor side of the house, have conversations around it. And I think when I started my role as council president about 15 years ago, I think I gave him a quarter and said, "Hey, you're on retainer. Let's talk," because I have some questions. He said that was rather cheap of me. So my dad just being out there and representing districts, and also, a lot of the times, he had all these billable hours, and big law charge lots of money per hour, and he ended up actually not charging districts probably 25 to 50% of the actual time spent on it because he wanted to give back to the community. And he understood that yes, that would be a financial hit, but schools only had so much money. And so, he did a lot of pro bono work, a lot of work on nights and weekends that was sort of off the clock to go through. And I think that's service, is there. We are in a service. I'm in a service industry. I think we are in a industry. Are out there. At our last bargaining session, Buzz Cooper, who represents the district in our bargain, talking to CFO Jack Duran in the office, and Buzz said, "I meant to mention that I knew your dad." Oh, I said, "Yeah, really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Dad's a legend." So that was kind of cool. So here we are doing this thing, and all of a sudden, you got some talk to your dad. So just to really appreciate that, a great analytical thinker, did a lot of
Yeah, I reference him as a historical figure. I like the idea of putting him as a legend.
Yeah,
So
I'll take
definitely
that.
had
It was
some
kind of
influence.
fun.
That's great. All right, when you think about the future for yourself, our students, and our community, what gives you hope?
Our kids, right? I mean, it's fun to walk into schools and see the new things that see the smile. My favorite thing about teaching aha moment, when you go through and get a student, you're working on a new concept through, and all of a sudden it clicks and they brighten, their face brightens up, pops up. The next thing you know, they're applying this to another step. Like, yes, I got it. So our kids give us hope. I love spending a day walking into elementary schools. I pop into kindergarten classes all the time because those give not only hope but also enjoy. And to sit down on the carpet, just have kids start asking questions, and and if nothing else, perhaps you become the entertaining one for a little bit, and the teacher gets a little bit of a break and can take a deep breath, and can recharge. To go. The innovating project we're seeing on the district, and see what back their program, they're creating at the different year classes they're doing, at the way our history teachers tying subject matter to current day. And so, yeah, our kids.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, our students have a lot of opportunities. As I go around and visit classrooms, sometimes I wish I would have applied myself a little bit more in high school, but I definitely had a different experience that I would still say was fun. But, I see what our students get exposed to now, and I really think the more opportunity, hands-on experiences, opportunities for students about what they're passionate about, they may be interested in. And it's hard to ask students today, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Because trying to figure out what they're going to have for lunch today, if they're even going to eat today. But I just think our kids have. I'm glad you get that. You see a system lens, it's much broader and deeper than you thought it said.
Yeah, well, and it's also interesting to see this idea of like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to major? Right? That's Charlotte's big thing right now. She's applying, and what do you want to major? I don't know what I want to major. I said, honestly, it doesn't matter. I was a business major, and then I switched to history. Right? So it's like, just get in,
Yeah.
right? Get in, figure it out.
Just get in, you
work
figure it
out.
out. I always heard really good advice. Just gonna follow your passion.
Yep,
And your
absolutely.
passion.
Yeah, totally.
Great. Well, as you talk about our students, what's one dream you have for our highlight?
Honestly, if they could be able to have everything they need to go from, to be able to get to pick, live out, I think that would be stunning and for everyone just to be able to say, hey, I think I'm gonna have that. So that's really that's what I hope. I hope they can achieve things they want and try, and some of the things for kids. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Completely. Okay, well, our last question for today is like, what's something you're reading, watching, or listening to right now that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Oh, I'm not being that is all inspiring at the moment. I find my reading to be escape reading, right? Into this idea of I have a terrible addiction to YA fantasy, right? And so I usually go to some high school librarian. And I'm like, hey, what's the new cool thing that's out there? So I'm probably embarrassed enough to not share any of the titles of the books that I'm reading. Although I am cycling back right now. It's on my Audible right now. I'm going back from. And so I've read all of the Game of Thrones series, and I watched all of the series, which is not for every audience. But I'm just going back and reading and listening to the book all the time, and it's kind of fun to hear the different. I had my assumptions of the pronunciations. Yes, I said pronunciations, essential of name, and to hear the British voice actors telling them now, like, oh, okay, I didn't pronounce it, but all right.
Right. Well, we may have a theme going here on the Promise podcast because our last guest, Takadoma principal at West Middle School, he was starting to rewatch the series of Games of Thrones.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
There
so
you go.
we just have to connect, compare notes.
Right. Sounds good.
On some of
I
those
was
audiobooks, too.
amazed at how solid that series was, at least in season one, how closely it mirrored.
Great. Yeah, I told him last time I started watching them during the pandemic. I got about halfway through, and all the people that I really liked kept getting killed off, so I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, the one thing that was constant.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
pretty much.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jeb. I really appreciate you taking the time to be part of the podcast. And that's it for this episode of the Promise Podcast. These stories remind us that Highline is built by people, students, staff, families, and community members, each making the promise real in their own way. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. I'm your host, Dr. Ivan Duran. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you soon.